Hey guys, welcome to another Black Flag Ordnance video here. So today we have a very special rifle and something I am truly excited to show off. And that right here is the Scar 16S. Honestly, one of my dream guns. I know that, they have been out a while, but ever since the old Modern Warfare 2 days, I've always wanted one of these things. So, going from here, I will go over a little bit of what I have done to the rifle. We just picked it up not too long ago, maybe about a week or two ago, and I've just been having fun with this thing. Now, once again, this is the 16, so it is 5.56. It is not the 308 variant. I did this to replace my AR-15 entirely. So I did get rid of it, but in return, let's go over the differences here. So first of all, I do have the Sig Tango MSR. This is the 1 through 6 version. So if you want to take a look, I did get it in tan. Pretty cool. I think it does complement the gun tremendously. On top of that, I did put the BCM foregrip on it, and because it is 2025, I did put a Rego Systems M-Lock on it. Honestly, one of my favorite upgrades. I feel like the Scar was lacking that, but once again, the Scar was made how many years ago? So, I know they haven't really changed up too much, but I think this was a nice addition. It wasn't too bad to install. If anybody that's looking into it, it is very simple. You do have to take the barrel out, so just be aware that when you do that, so just make sure it's not sitting cockeyed within the receiver, but it's very straightforward. Honestly, I'm really excited. Unlike an AR-15, you only have one takedown bolt. So instead of having two, one in the back and one in the front, these things just come out pretty much with one bolt, and you can take the whole entire buttstock and everything off of it. So it is pretty simplistic. It's not too hard, and there's only 4 bolts holding that barrel on. So when you go and if you want one of these, like I said, I would highly recommend getting one. It does add a little bit more up top, so you can C-clamp it a little better, and you just have more room for attachments. I definitely plan on doing a lot more to this thing. Shout out, I'm looking at one of those Super Scar triggers. Haven't got one yet, but when you are looking, I will say there's only like 2 manufacturers that make triggers. It's a Timney and Geisley. Other than that, you're just getting a regular FN Scar trigger. But so far, I am really happy with this thing. For those of you who don't know as well, the gas block is adjustable from the factory. So according to the internet, and of course, probably FN, apparently you void your warranty if you put a suppressor on it. So that's just what I've heard. I don't know. I have not ran a suppressor on this, but just something to think about before you buy one of these things, because they are a pretty penny. So from here, let's go ahead and plank a couple shots. All right, so we got targets set up probably about 100 yards. Nothing too crazy, but let's test it out. So going into the history of the Scar, as a lot of people know, but if you don't, I believe it was early 2000s, 2007 to 2010. I'll have to look it up. I could be wrong. The Army was looking to replace the M4. So these Scars were implemented in kind of like a test period. They are still known and used worldwide today, but the one thing was they were trying to replace the M4 with it. And so the only problem that you see a lot of people on the internet and when they were doing these trials, if you read about them, the one thing that they weren't really liking was the reciprocating charging handle. It does make it a little awkward if you're trying to shoot around a corner or you're trying to rest your rifle up on a wall. So that was one of the biggest gripes that they had about the Scar. Now, coming to modern day, they did change that. They do have non-reciprocating charging handles now. So that problem in itself has been fixed. It's no longer a issue. Going from there, the one thing that, when I was looking at purchasing a Scar was PMags. So technically speaking, these are just standard PMags, AR-15 PMags. With the Scar 16, they were supposed to be able to use GI mags and everything else. And if you look at the FN Scar mag, as you can see, it's pretty much just a GI mag, but it's, got a little tan into it, right? So The one thing online that people were saying was that the PMags do not feed correctly in the scars. Doing a little bit more research, I did find out the Gen 3 PMags, if you look at the back there, the notch, that in itself, they created a difference with the Gen 3s to allow the SCAR to be able to feed properly. I did hear reports online that Gen 2s and below, they were double feeding and they just weren't having the best time firing. But apparently with the Gen 3s, they did change the lip of it, so it was able to end up firing and not having slip ups with double feeds or anything like that. So if you guys are looking at PMags for your SCAR, the Gen 3s do fit. So when it came to the ammo, the scope, this scope was on my AR-15. I did swap it over. So the one thing I found interesting when zeroing this rifle was that I do have a little bit more holdover when it comes to longer distances. Just kind of doing a little bit of research, and I'll have to really find out for myself. This thing does shoot straight. I don't have any problems, but I think it has to do with the grain of ammo. Now I am shooting 223. I'm not shooting 5.56 or a little bit of higher grain rounds. I am shooting lower grain rounds. So that obviously has a factor in how the holdover is. I'm using the same ammo that I did with my AR-15, and like I said, I do have a little bit more holdover compared to the AR-15. It's not that big of a deal. Once you figure it out and you're able to really zone in where your gun is shooting, it's laser point accurate. I mean, it is just a 223 rifle at the end of the day, but you know, just keep that in mind if you guys are looking to get a SCAR to replace your AR-15 or any other kind of 223 rifle that you do have, that, hey, really when you're going to zero it in and you're looking at longer distance shooting, just be aware that, at least for me, this does have a little bit more holdover, especially around the 300-yard range. From there, let's go a little bit down range. We do have some targets set up around the 200 to 250-yard range. You know, just guesstimating, but let's check it out and see how it does over there, being that this is replacing my AR. All right, so as you can see, it is very easy to shoot this thing. It is pretty on point. I have no issues picking up targets and hitting them. So the one thing I did forget to mention before we came out to the long range is that the trigger in this thing is very, very similar to the AR. I know a lot of people online, they do gripe about the trigger itself and how it feels compared to, you know, like an AR. More or less, hey, we're spending, you know, some odd $1,000s on this rifle. It should have a better trigger from the factory. Me personally, because I'm used to the AR trigger, I don't have any issues, but I know that it could be better. So just keep that in mind. Now, like I said, there's only like 2 companies that make triggers for the SCAR, which is Geisley and Timney. Just be aware when you buy one of these things, if you do want to upgrade your trigger, you don't have that many options out there. So moving on, the one thing that I did want to bring to your attention as well is that on the SCAR, almost everything is ambidextrous. You got your charging handle, your mag release, your safety. The only thing that is not ambidextrous is the bolt release. Now, on my AR, I did have a bad lever on it, so I'll have to do some research, but if I can get a bad lever on this thing, I might as well make the whole entire rifle ambidextrous. Now, that being said as well, when it comes to the charging handle, as you can see, it is on both sides. You have it on your left and your right. Now, if you prefer to take them out, it is fully customizable. You can have it either just on the one side, or you can flip-flop them, because if you look, the left side is a little bit longer and has a little bit of an angle to it, so you're not hitting it on your scope compared to the right side. But if you wanted to swap this around, you can, or if you wanted to get aftermarket ones, they do have them available. So you can customize this thing pretty much the same as you would an AR. The one benefit to this operating system is that you can actually fold the stock and you can still shoot it. So you don't have that buffer tube or anything in the back preventing you from actually folding the stock and using the rifle as necessary. Or if you wanted to transport it, anything of that kind of sort, you can do that with this rifle. So overall, you know, you get a little bit more practicality out of it than an AR in certain degrees. Now, the one thing I do like, so I can still access everything that I need to operate this scar with the buttstock folded, which is with an AR, you may not get that. The only thing that I find concerning about the buttstock, as far as from a functionality standpoint, the actual button to secure the stock in place is plastic. So I don't know how guys are doing it, if they're slamming this thing actually forward to lock it. Me personally, just to save the rifle, I push the button and I lock it in place, and it is very sturdy. I don't have a lot of wiggle with it. Nothing to be concerned about as far as the functionality of the buttstock itself. I'm going to attempt this. Not that it's going to do me much good, but I would say about 200 yards away there is a target. I'm going to try to shoot this thing without the buttstock and let the shenanigans begin with the scar. This is so bad. All right. When I'm ready. Well, I don't know what I'm even aiming at. All right, you ready? All right, so take one. This is not going to end well. Let's try it again. All right, take three. See if I can get this thing to actually hit 200 yards, no buttstock. All right. I feel it in my bones. Hey! It took about 7 shots, but I did it. I would not try that. If you're going to shoot a target from like 150, 200 yards away, I would probably recommend pulling the buttstock out. But in a short range scenario, if you need it, you can use it. So from here, let's load up another mag. And the one thing I do want to test is the FN AR-15s have their own kind of almost like a P mag, I should say. I am kind of curious to see if it would work in the scar. So for any of you guys out there that have the FN Guardians, if those mags will work in the scar, I would almost think they would, but being that some of these things can be finicky, what's it hurt to try it? So let's get to it. All right, so back on the range. When it comes to those mags, like I was saying, here is the FN mag and here is the P mag. So I'm going to get a shot at the back here. So from what I've read online, the notch right there is what was causing the issue. I don't know. I couldn't really say that with confidence that was the issue, but hey, what do I know? I just bought the scar. So here are the mags side by side. If you look, they are really similar to those P mags, both front and back. So the only difference that I saw was the bottom here, which the bottom shouldn't be any problem at all, and just where the takedown is on there. But the FN mag, the only reason I'm doing this too is because when I was looking online, no one could give me a clear answer. So I'm going to try the FN mag, and then I'm going to also try the regular steel GI mags. I don't see why that would have an issue, but once again, I could be wrong. So we're going to shoot the FN mag first and see if we have any malfunctions out of it. So from here, we're at about, I don't know, 75, 100 yards, if that. And we're going to see if we have any malfunctions, purely just to see for science. That thing's just a swaying. All right, so FN mag, it did feed. So for anybody on the internet that wants to know, ours fed fine. Next up on the list is the GI steel mag. Regular AR-15 GI steel mag going in. And firing. And out. And for us, regular GI mags as well, they are feeding properly. So I would say if you are looking for it, maybe just try to stay away from the older generation P mags. And other than that, GI mags and the FN mags work. So that's really good when you're looking. When I was doing research, I couldn't find really much on that. So I know the SCAR's been out for a while. It could have just been me and my computer, but I really couldn't get a definite answer on that. So from here, let's grab a regular AR-15 and really compare the difference between the SCAR and the AR. Go over the differences between recoil, weight, just that kind of stuff. So let's get to it. Okay, so for our AR to test, we do have the LWRC M61C. So we are running a EOTech 512 with a magnifier. So going back to a little bit of the basics, right? So from here, let's load up a mag. I do have regular AR mags, and I am kind of curious to see if there's any difference between the FN SCAR mag and the AR mag. I don't think there is, besides the tan color to it, but you know, we'll just run it for scientific purposes, see if it messes up in the LWRC. So from here, same targets. We do have this EOTech that is kind of crudely sighted in. It's not perfect, so we'll see if we can hit anything with it. And like I said, go over the differences between this and the SCAR. So let's get to it. First up, the FN SCAR mag goes in. Let's try it out. Was that a hit? Yeah. Oh. Of course. All right, so FN mag works just fine. So first thing I noticed, as soon as I picked this thing up and I shot it, the recoil on this, it's a little bit more harsh. Obviously, you have the buffer spring and the buffer tube in here, kind of going towards your shoulder and your cheek, rather than up front like the SCAR. So first things first, absolutely, first thing I noticed. It's still not bad. I mean, it's a 223. I don't expect a ton of recoil, but in that initial target acquisition, I will say it is a little bit easier on the SCAR. Now, granted, yes, we are using a magnifier and an EOTech compared to a scope, but overall, just even that recoil impulse and what you feel and trying to get back on target, the SCAR has a little bit softer recoil in that kind of regard. So, you know, that in itself, first thing I noticed. So from here, we're going to go for the same thing, just kind of plinking around with it. The one thing that I do like about the LWRC that you don't get in the SCAR is the ambidextrous bolt release. That's something you don't get on the Scar. So I was actually pretty surprised. I know some rifles are doing that now. This is an older LWRC, so to see that on there, I was actually pretty surprised. So from here, we're going to plank some more and kind of still feel the rifle out. The difference in weight, I will say, this is lighter. Obviously, I don't have a scale out here, but even just holding the rifle and kind of just messing with it, maneuvering it, it is a little bit lighter. So I will give that to the ARs. Of course, yes, I know I did put the M-lock on the front of it, so I know that's more of like a me thing as well. But even first picking up the Scar, I did notice that it did have a little bit more weight to it, but it wasn't enough to bother me. So if you guys are kind of on the weight of, oh man, you know, this is pretty heavy, you know, just keep that in mind when you do get the Scar, that it is a little bit heavier from the factory anyways. But let's go back down range. We're gonna shoot the PMAG out of it and really just get more of a feel for this rifle. This is my first time firing this specific LWRC, so for me to be able to really talk about it, I definitely want to get more into it. So let's plank down range. Of course. Alrighty, so here we are. We're back at the, I want to say probably around 200-yard range. It's going to be a little bit more difficult than the Scar, just because I have the magnifier rather than a full-on 6x zoom scope. So it shouldn't be that big of a deal, but being that this thing is crudely sighted in, it's going to be maybe not the most consistent. So let's give it a shot and go from there. We definitely needed to adjust that EOTech. I'm aiming at the ground, like in front of the target.
You're hitting it.
Yeah. I found out where to hit it. Was that a hit?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh.
Making the noises. So we're too far down.
Yeah, we're too far down on the actual zero of this thing, but overall, the biggest upgrade when it comes to the Scar compared to this is I don't have that buffer tube and that spring rattling in my ear every shot. I don't miss that. I know there are upgrades to put in there to eliminate that, but as far as just buying a gun and not having that, you know, it is kind of nice to not have your ears get rattled by a spring, right? So overall though, like I said, even kind of from a stationary position, shooting 200 yards, it's still laser accurate. Yes, we are pretty down on our zero. We would have to adjust that. I was pretty much aiming at the ground a solid like 4 feet in front of it, and it was hitting the target. So I know that's more of a zero on this rifle. I can't condemn the rifle for that. It's just we haven't had a time to truly sight this thing in. But overall though, ease of experience. I mean, even once I found that zero and where it was actually hitting, I was able to hit the target every time. All right guys, so moving back onto the Scar, you know, final thoughts and everything like that. You know, if you can swing one of these, I do recommend them. Now, once again, it is a little heavier, but the recoil management, in my opinion, it makes up for it. Also, just the stupid easy design it is to take this thing apart, and not just take it apart to field strip it, but even just to remove the barrel. You know, between the barrel, the gas system, you know, everything. It is very friendly and kind of like shooter oriented, rather than having to have special tools to take the barrel off or anything like that kind of sort. So it is very simple to maintain, to clean, and overall just a good shooting experience. And honestly, yes, it is a little pricey. For me, like I said, I got rid of my AR to get one of these, more or less just to replace my AR. That's why I went for the 5.56 rather than the 308, even though that we know the 308 is more commonly known and liked. But overall, this shooting experience with this rifle, it is very easy to pick up, very easy to shoot. I don't have any problems. I haven't had any malfunctions yet, and I've shot close to probably around, I don't know, 500 rounds. Not too much, not too crazy. Usually when we film a video for you guys, we're already a couple thousand rounds in, but I just couldn't wait to get this thing out and actually show you guys. Being that this is one of my dream guns, especially from old Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 days, it was just one of those things growing up. It was a dream gun of mine, and so I was fortunate enough to be able to pick one up and be able to actually own one. So other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. It really means a lot to us. As far as our channel, it seems like every week we're just growing bigger and bigger, and I cannot thank you guys enough, for the support. I like reading every single comment, and I try to respond where I can. So guys, thank you so much for watching. And once again, if you guys can own one, get one.